What are we talking about?
What are we talking about?
What are we talking about?
Welcome. If you're listening to this, you're listening to the premiere voyage. Is it called the premiere voyage? No.
Journey?
Is it the...
It's a conversation.
A conversation between the three of us. This is Paul.
This is Mitch.
And this is Ben.
And you're listening to What Are We Talking About?
Your guess is as good as ours.
Cue the theme song.
The theme song will go right here.
Right here.
Right here.
That's what we call a teaser, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
A stinger, perhaps.
Stinger. I feel stung.
So we were sitting around one night, right? We were sitting in a bar.
We're sitting up.
This is the origin story, right?
City.
We're sitting in a bar and we said to ourselves, fuck, we talk about such amazing things that the world needs to hear. Which is typically the insane thought that most crazy people have when they think that most of the American public really wants to hear what they're talking about. Right?
Yeah. Or it could have just been, we just wanted to hang out. We just wanted to talk to each other, right? Could have been that too. I don't know.
We were having a delightful conversation. That is true.
Yeah.
It's a justifiable reason for getting together.
With microphones.
With microphones.
And no kids. That's it.
Listen, if you were looking at the setup here, you would say these guys have quite an insane professional setup. We've got these pantyhose things. What are they called?
Rocking the mic with the pantyhose.
The pantyhose.
Huge Ziploc C-stand.
We've got
It's amazing.
a small version of elevator action, which we
Yes.
can play if
Yes,
things
we
get
do.
boring.
And we have a popcorn bucket in front of us, which at first might sound strange
Because there's no popcorn in it.
because there is no popcorn in it. But there's something in it that is the crux, is the catalyst of the entire conversation that's about to occur.
You want to set up how this is going to work?
Here's what happens. The three of us clearly all think we know a lot about a certain set of subjects. So going into every one of these shows, we scribble on multiple little pieces of paper, which I've cut out equally. So each slip is measured it has nothing to do with the show, but it must be measured exactly. We all write down 3 topics of things that we would like to talk about. We throw them in a hat. And none of us know what's going to come out of that hat, but that's going to be the topic of conversation for today's episode.
Hence the name. What are we talking about?
I'm just bristling with excitement at this point. I want to know what's in the popcorn bucket that does not have popcorn. And by the way, it's labeled popcorn, but it really looks more kind of like you'd put a potted plant in it.
It's like a half serving.
It's not enough popcorn, quite honestly.
It's a ceramic thing? Like, dude, what's popcorn in ceramics?
When I use this popcorn thing, whatever you call it, this bowl, it's not really a bowl, I have 3 servings of popcorn. It's not the right size
No,
for
it's not.
1 serving of popcorn.
No.
That's maybe a cup of popcorn.
All right, well, but it identifies as a popcorn bowl. So.
Yeah. So who wants to do the honors?
This is a good question.
I think it's Ben.
That-
I think
Do you want me to do it?
I
I'll
think
do
we
it.
start with Ben.
All
Ben's
right.
the first poll.
Before you do, quick question. What are
Yes.
the odds? There are 9 items in here. You're picking one. What % odds do I have that one of my 3 will get chosen?
Same odds that I have.
But what are those odds?
I'm not that good at math.
Isn't that like a 30% chance?
Well, if it's a third, it's 33 and a third, technically.
Yeah.
You see, you guys had the answer.
There we go.
I would not have written that down on a piece of paper.
Could we talk for a half hour about 33 and a third % odds?
I think we could.
The math that goes into making those odds?
I think we could.
We're not going to do that.
That's where
All right.
All right, I'll reach
Now
into
move your. When people pick pieces of paper out of hats,
I know.
they just grab the thing on the top. You've got to
No, I'm
fully.
getting in there. I'm digging in.
grab
I'm
it.
moving it around. I'm shuffling. I'm gonna find something. Here it comes. It is out of body experiences.
No, wait. Are we identifying whose that is?
I think I know exactly.
I
whose
don't
that is.
think. I don't.
I think the odds of that person's thing coming out are the 33 and a third, and it was the guy who asked that very question.
I think that's right.
Do you think that the person actually has to admit to choosing or writing it down?
Why not? Own it.
Okay.
Own it. Own what you decided will be our topic of conversation for the day.
This, I think, is going to. There's a lot of people in our society right now who spend a lot of time thinking about this.
And you're one of them.
Like, let me ask both of you a question. Have you ever spent any significant time doing research on this particular topic?
Yes.
For what particular reason?
Well, it's interesting, number one. Number two, I think it is something that, in the category of unexplained phenomena, it is sort of one of the classics. Mm-hmm. And as someone who works with a lot of stories of, unexplained things, I do find such subject matter to be of use to my craft.
It's actually quite a good segue. Why don't you tell the folks at home what it is that you do, Ben?
I'm a writer. I started in comic books, and now I work in television, and I'm trying to break into film like everybody in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. But I've been a television writer for the past 15 years. I write for Quantum Leap on NBC.
Oh, that's a good show.
Well, thank you very much.
I love Scott Bakula.
That's lovely. I work for the new Quantum Leap, not the old Quantum Leap.
Oh, no, I know. I just wanted you to make sure you
get it in there.
Listen, we all love Scott Bakula, and we think he's fantastic, and the original series was great. I work on the new series.
I hope someday you write Scott Bakula on a piece of paper. That would be fun.
Episode 2. This is right. By the way, this is right down your alley. This is perfect for you. I, on the other hand, I work in unscripted television. That's it. So
okay. And this is Paul, and I have an interesting story about out-of-body experiences, which I'll tell, which will spark this whole thing. And I also work in the entertainment industry. I'm a executive and a producer and a writer and an author and a podcast aficionado. Anyways, I've always been kind of obsessed with this topic because I live in a space where I believe that the soul is separate from our body. I believe at some point we die and that soul goes somewhere. And when I was in college or when I first came to LA, I was obsessed with trying to figure out how to do this out-of-body experience. They call it astral projection, the ability to cause your soul to leave your body. Mm-hmm. And there's billions. There's probably a few books, maybe a dozen. I exaggerated about how to do this. And then there's a process of relaxation. It's a bit like meditation. And you talk about energy, and it's about getting your body to a certain vibration that then allows your soul to lift out of your body. I believe this is the warning they give you. They say, like, when it's about to happen, inside of you, like, their voices will start to, like, say, don't fucking do this. Don't stop. Like, this is not good. You do not want to do this. Like, that started to happen, and I got scared, and I never did it again.
When was this again?
This is probably, like 20 years ago, 15 years ago.
Do you know why they said not to do it?
No, I think when you think about trying to do something like this, it's like, you've watched the X-Files, or people have written about it or visualized it in some way, and it's like, wow, that could be super cool, right? But the minute something like that becomes even remotely like it could be real, it shatters your entire expectation, perception of what the world is. And so whether or not it was actually really even happening to me, all I know is I got to a point where I started to feel like something weird was happening, and I just stopped.
What were the sound of the voices? Like, did it sound like that's my cousin, or like was it just like these just ethereal?
Yeah, it was
disembodied.
It was kind of.
Entities.
Was it my subconscious? I don't know.
So did it sound like you?
No, I don't. It was. I can't even remember. I mean, was it like a whisper? But it was a basic. The subject or the topic was just like the command was like, yeah, you don't do this.
So how did you sort of pull back and not go forward with it?
Because it scared the crap out of me, like that.
But has you already sort of progressing towards like the other side, and then you just sort of to withdraw? Is that what it is? Like, do you remember what that felt like when you could actually pull back?
It was just literally a moment where something felt slightly different, and it was like, I'm stopping.
So you're sitting there,
laying there.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Yeah. It's key. You can't do it sitting down, apparently.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're prone on the bed or on the floor or on the couch? Where?
I'm laying. What prone is flat. Prone is flat.
Yeah.
Yeah, just on a bed.
Okay, so you're on a bed.
Like it's nighttime.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so you're sitting there. No, sorry, laying there.
Yeah.
Getting ready
Prone,
to go.
prone.
Getting ready to go. Here I go. Doing my breathing exercises.
Yeah.
Right? Doing my mind thing.
It's not too different from meditation. It feels like, you're feeling like the breath and the energy but there's a point where you're supposed to feel vibrations in your body. I think there's probably lots of people who sound healing and all sorts of different types of that meditation space that probably people feel certain ways, but it's a relaxation element.
But your eyes are closed. You're basically in the dark, breathing.
Yes.
And you're feeling your body starting to vibrate at a certain level, right? Like,
yeah.
Do you feel it more in your head, or are you feeling it in like your fingers and your toes?
No, I think you feel it in your entire body. Like it gets to the point where it spreads across your entire body. That's the goal.
Does it start in your head?
I don't remember. I was never really that good at it.
Oh,
but there's so many people who say they can do this.
Yeah.
Like, do you guys believe that this is real?
I believe consciousness is a funny thing, and that as far as the us being composed of physical matter as well as energy, I do believe that energy can move. If I'm correct, I mean I don't want to espouse anything that is scientifically inaccurate, but I'm under the impression that such a thing is possible. So I'm down.
I think I 100% believe in it. I think that we tap into what do they say? 20% of your brain power or 10% of your brain power? Any increase in that. And also, I think there are times in your life where you do have moments where not necessarily out of body experiences, but you do have moments that it does feel like you're sort of stepping back and seeing through a different lens or something. So I think I've never done it, but I could see myself doing it. I would like to do it, actually.
I would like to try it.
Yeah, I would like to try it.
I mean, there are people who say they believe, like, that thing when you're about to fall asleep and you like feel like you're jumping back.
Yeah.
Like your body gets startled and you wake up very quickly. Like there are people that say that when you dream, your soul is actually out of your body.
Yeah.
That when you're sleeping, your whole body turns off. So while you're dreaming, if you're running in your dream, you're not running in bed, but that your soul is actually out of your body when that's happening.
What is it? What is the ayahuasca, whatever it is? Is that sort of that is, or is that a completely different thing?
That's an ingested thing.
What is that?
It's like a drink, isn't it?
Yeah, and it causes you to vomit, but you have like.
But what is the result of it? Are you like, is it a little bit of an out of body experience?
I don't know if it's, again, I don't know, having never done it, but I don't know if it's out of body so much as it is internal psychological, like, your mind goes to places. I could be very wrong. Again, know about 10 to 40% on any topic.
It's like you go to like a tent somewhere and they hand you a drink.
Yeah.
And then you throw up.
Well, yeah, you consume it, and then it sort of alters your state. And your
I would never do that. That scares the crap out of me.
I mean, I'm up for it, except the vomiting part's not so great. I mean, I don't think I'd like to do that, but I'm all about expanding consciousness and understanding the universe that we exist in a little bit better. If that's a way to do it,
I would do it if I was surrounded by. Like, if the three of us went, I would do it. I would want to be surrounded by people that I feel comfortable with.
I would have a panic attack. I would think.
Let's not bring Paul for that one.
No, nor would I try. Ketamine.
Yeah, that doesn't.
I know somebody who did that, and they say that like you feel like you're dead, like you're in a black void, and you don't exist anymore. I mean, you had me at vomit on ayahuasca. Like I'm like, I don't want to throw up.
What's the reason? Yeah,
I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So if you guys could if you could have an out of body experience, they say that you can travel anywhere you want. Where would you go?
Is it like in physical space in current time, or like is time travel possible?
Let's say time travel isn't possible.
Oh. Well, you're right.
But I think you can go anywhere in the universe.
I would go to the edge of a black hole just to see what's there.
And you'd find the ship from Interstellar.
Or from Black Hole.
True.
Listen, I never got through all of Interstellar. I kind of fell asleep. So, not that it's not, as good a movie as everyone says who likes the movie. I just, to me, the black hole is the thing that I want to get in there. I want to see if Maximilian is still in that
Now you
that
are
hellscape.
You are aware, and just for folks who don't know, that this is a movie that Disney released in
79.
79?
But it's haunted me ever since.
I'm not sure the ship is still there. It's been a long time.
Oh, all right.
They did probably shoot on location, so you at least have that option.
Where would you go, Mitch?
I don't know. I was just thinking that. I mean, if you can't time travel,
but you can go anywhere, even on this planet, at the same. So if it's 2 a.m. and you've left your body, and you go on the other side of the planet. You're in Australia. It's daytime. You can see anything.
You can't do anything.
I mean, you can't impact physical people as far as based on all the things I've read on Reddit, right?
where the truth lies.
Right. It is the truth.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's easy to say like an island or whatever, something like that. But like, I don't know
What's on the island?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. I was gonna say I could go back and see my mom or something like that, but that might be a little boring, truthfully, because I could see her anytime on FaceTime, whatever.
What if the only island you could go to was like Long Island? Like it's
it's nighttime.
Astral projection ends up at Long Island.
Yeah.
What's open?
What's open? I mean, it
2
depends
a.m.
on what
2 a.m.
time. Yeah, it depends on where you are in the world.
Did you bring cash with you?
Go to the Sphere in Las Vegas and hang out. I could do that. I don't know.
I just heard we're getting a Sphere here in L.A.
No, we're not.
A scaled down version, but yes.
Really?
Well, isn't there one by like the Burbank Airport? Have you seen that?
What?
What is
Yes,
that?
there is.
What is that?
There's some kind of spherical object, architectural object.
But not the Sphere where you two would play.
What if it's smaller? How much smaller than Vegas do you think it'll be?
I think it's meant to be as just like a cinema experience. Like it's not like a concert going experience.
So if it's say 80% smaller than U2, are the bands that play there 80% less successful?
I mean, I guess if that's how we're going to measure their success is by their album sales. And
What would you, if you had to call out a band that's 80% less successful than U2 to perform? What would it be?
that's a good question.
Would it be the Wallflowers?
Why them?
I don't know.
I think they're. I mean, I hate nothing against.
Would it have to also be an Irish band? I mean,
but I don't think they're. I think they're a little bit less than 80%. I mean, I don't mean that in a bad way, but
they only had one headlight.
right. I mean, so there you go.
But they can make it home with just one.
Oh my god. I don't know.
See, this is what's interesting about this podcast in our maiden voyage is that we're sort of embracing the notion of tangents.
And that's okay.
That's okay.
And I think that's the whole point, isn't it? Is that we start with a topic, we realize there's only so much we can talk about, and then if we have to pivot, we will. It doesn't mean we won't come back around to it, but I think it just means that some topics may take us to places we wouldn't expect, kind of like an out-of-body experience would.
Huh.
Way to bring it back.
Wow.
That's a good callback.
That was very apropos. How did we even get to the band thing? Was it because Mitch was going to Long Island for his out-of-body experience?
I mean, I don't know. Went to the Sphere.
He went to the Sphere, and that's
Sphere.
and then I ruined it.
But I am serious. Like, is there, if you had to call a band 80% less successful than U2, and it wasn't the Wallflowers?
But what's your metric of success that we're then scaling down to 20%?
Well, let's just say U2 can generate enough sales of seats to fill out the Sphere.
Yeah.
What does it take? What band is successful enough, just enough, to fill out the mini Sphere opening in Los Angeles that has 80% less seats?
Got it. Okay, now I got the question.
Where did you get that number of 80%? How do you know there's going to be that many less seats? You just found out that this place is going to exist.
I'm just...
Do you have intel that we don't know?
I'm just going with it.
Oh,
I mean, I'll say this. It's almost pretty much any band out there is going to be 80% less than U2. I mean, if you think about it, because just name any current band. Bruno Mars. Probably not going to sell as much as U2.
You don't think Bruno...
I don't think so.
I think Bruno Mars is not that unsuccessful.
I love Bruno Mars, but I don't think... But U2 is like a global phenomenon, right?
True. Okay, I'm going to say a band that I recently discovered, although I think maybe their success level is higher than 20% of U2.
And then I have the answer.
Go ahead.
He just gave me the answer.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Then why should I even bother?
No, tell us yours.
Well, I just discovered the Hives.
Yeah.
And I feel like those
Never heard of them.
they're from
They're
Sweden.
50% less successful.
I'd say that maybe they may.
I
actually
think they're
be
like
80%
I think they're like 95% less successful.
They had a run. They had
They
a run
did,
there.
and
Yeah.
they just performed last year at No Vacancy, which is here in LA, which is a very small sort of venue space, where they basically performed on the front porch of this place, which was kind of cool. I saw it on YouTube. It was a great video. I don't know why I discovered them recently. I felt compelled to look them up on YouTube and see what their live performance was like, and I watched 2 of their shows back to back. They're fantastic. Everyone should listen to the Hives.
I thought he was going to say After Midnight. I thought you were going to go down that path.
You mean The Midnight?
The Midnight. There it is.
I wonder,
It's a
have you ever
CBS
seen
show.
them in person?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to mention what are the pineapple something?
Oh,
Porcupine Tree or the Pineapple Thief.
Those are 2 real bands.
They are. Those are 2 real bands that I thoroughly enjoy.
Huh.
Despite the mockery.
I was going to say Midnight Oil.
Their beds are burning.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyways,
Yeah.
Interesting.
yeah, that we got there.
Are they still together? Are they still around?
I believe so.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
They might be.
We can check.
They were good.
I think there's a direct line from Men at Work to Midnight Oil. Right?
Both
They're
Australian
Aussie
bands.
right?
Yeah, for sure.
Right, they're not New Zealand. They're
Australian.
Right?
Well, because Mitch said U2 is globally, what do you say?
Global
A
phenomenon.
global phenomenon. So then I thought to myself, like, is there one country where a band 1/20th of the planet? And I figure Midnight Oil is kind of there. Anyway, so what we've determined is this: Ben would go to the black hole to look for the ship that doesn't exist because it's from a fictitious movie from 1979,
Correct.
and Mitch decided not to see his mom because he could FaceTime,
Yeah.
but he would go to an island.
No, I'd go to the Sphere. That's where I'm going now. I ditched the island because I've been to plenty of islands. That's the whole point.
Oh, right.
Now I'm like, all right, where can I go where I don't have a ticket? I'll go to the Sphere, right?
Okay.
All right, where are you going?
Oh shit. I think I would go. This is a little Biff Back to the Future, but I would go into the future.
Wait, you said
Wait,
we
no,
could
listen,
time
listen,
travel.
listen.
Oh no!
Listen. Hold on. I'm going to Australia, where it is,
Midnight Oil.
where it's technically the future,
Okay.
and I'm going to observe some kind of sporting event that's occurring at that time. So if it's 2 a.m. here, it's tomorrow, but like 11 in the morning or something.
Like a rugby match?
Like some kind of match that I can then bet on
I see.
when I wake up. And I haven't quite figured out all the logistics because if it's happening at the time that
You have to be there at the end of the match.
there's a bit of a logic problem.
No,
but
I know where you're going with this, though. That's a good way in.
Or could I project myself into the bank vault of somewhere where somebody's typing in the code of a bank vault somewhere else?
See, this I didn't know we had mischief in our path here. I thought it was more about the aspirational journey.
That's what I thought.
where I was going.
And which is why I believe your astral projection is not going to work because it's impure. Because you're motivated by selfish greed.
But it's like
reasons.
that movie Jumper with Hayden Christensen.
I did not see Jumper.
You didn't see Jumper?
see Jumper?
I saw Looper.
Oh, it's where he's able to literally project himself anywhere in the world.
And how was that movie?
Max von Sydow was in it, and so
he was
is
the bad guy.
Anthony Perkins.
Oh, so
2 people from Black Hole. I'm kidding. Weren't they both in Black Hole?
no, you're thinking of Maximilian Schell.
Oh, I am. That's right.
But yes, Anthony Perkins was.
I stand-
As was Ernest Borgnine. And Joseph Bottoms and someone else. And there's a lady too.
If I'm being honest with you, I thought the who did you just say?
Ernest Borgnine?
I thought that's where this podcast would live. If I'm being honest with you, I felt like we'd spend a lot of time talking about Ernest.
Ernest Borgnine.
Yeah.
Because you anticipated, Ben well enough to anticipate he would reference the black hole.
Yeah.
And always wouldn't you say, I think this is probably true, if any time you're talking about the black hole, not to say this is a constant incident, you would always mention Ernest Borgnine.
No. He's not really front of mind for me, to be honest. I mean, all due respect, the guy was Ernest Borgnine.
Wasn't he an Airwolf?
Was he in Airwolf?
I don't know.
It's although it's funny, he was in one of the topics that I wrote down on my that did not get picked. But I'm not going to reference it because I'm going to save that. I'm going to bank it for future.
We're going to put the
episodes.
rest of these slips in a Ziploc bag, and no one will be able to look at them until the next show.
But how do we know you're not? Who's keeping them? And how do we know that there's?
I'll give them to one of my children who clearly have very little respect for me.
or interested in what you're doing.
Or interested in any way at what I'm doing in life.
They're the perfect holders.
It's funny, like you hear about celebrities who are big celebrities and say, I'm not saying I'm a celebrity, who say like they do movies and their kids have zero interest in seeing them in these movies. And I thought, well, that's just like Brad Pitt and these people. And then I have things like, well, maybe I've published a book or maybe I have a show airing on television. Nobody cares. Does anybody care about your shit?
I've had episodes air and I'm like, hey, you guys want to watch? Nah, maybe later. Okay.
Yeah, if anything, it's the opposite. They sort of take digs at me and like, oh yeah, your show's not doing well, and it's actually awful. That's where it sort of works against me.
All right. Well, I have one last question because we're getting to our time.
What?
We're trying.
How did we get to our time already?
We're trying to be, just for the listeners, we're trying to be super respectful of your time. We're not going to sit here and blather on for an hour. We're trying to keep this thing tight.
Right. We are not smartless.
We've got 8 topics to get to.
Well, we're gonna every week. I think we write another piece and throw it in there. So there's always 9 to choose from, so that we always have a 33 1/3% chance at our topic being chosen.
All right,
that's right.
That's a great callback.
So you were mentioning time travel, which is not possible with astral projection. But here's a question that I have: if you could pick any time, you have 24 hours to go anywhere in the past or the future. 24 hours. Where do you go?
My head's gonna explode.
Do you go to the past to see somebody that you see at an event that you wish you could have been a part of? Do you go to the future to do that Biff thing from Back to the Future where you have the next 12 Super Bowls and the scores in your head so you can go back and win tons of money? Do you go 500 years into the future to see what the fuck's going on? Do you go 8 months to see who wins the presidential election?
I don't go there.
Don't go there.
I don't know. There's almost too much, almost too many options. If I can do it regularly, and I could if it was like, okay, once a year you get to do something, or maybe once a month would be better. Then I'd be able to sort of maybe, all right, I'll pick a bunch of different things. But if it's just like a one-shot deal, I might be paralyzed with decisions at that point.
Is it easier to say the past versus the future? Or let me ask this: is it more personal focused, or more like as an explorer and observer focused? Like, do you go back and see somebody who is in your family that maybe isn't alive anymore? Right. Like, is that the first place you go?
That's where my head initially went. I went to the past. I went to like my dad, and I was like, where do I go to sort of reconnect with him? But I don't know where that is.
Yeah.
I don't want to mess anything up. I don't want to.
You can't mess anything up.
All right.
You can, I promise. That's the rules. That's how it works. If you don't know, you don't know.
I think I'd go in the past versus the future. I think going in the future mentally messes me up.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd rather stay in the past.
Yeah, that's my instinct to lean toward the past and some sort of probably historical event. I mean, again, just sort of free thinking, my mind went to October 13th, 1307, when the Templars were excommunicated and burned at the stake. I wanted to.
You want to watch these people burn?
I didn't want to watch them burn, but I wanted to see if or when that happened, like how, what that was like, what that moment was. I mean, that's always fascinated me. But God, I can't even want to go further back. Like, there's too much. There's too much because you know what? Like, I also want to go back to places that we only recently discovered that predate what we thought, like Göbekli Tepe in
I'm sorry, bless you. What did you say?
Göbekli Tepe.
What
is that?
I don't know what that is.
It's a place in Turkey that they discovered that has these stone structures that are carved stone structures that a la a Stonehenge kind of thing, but they predate that. Like, they go further back, and they're carved with like these animals, but some strange animals for the region. It's just I would love to see the construction of some of those ancient things. Like, so things that I've always been interested in, The seminal moments. I would like to see those, and there's just too many.
What about
Okay.
you?
Oh, geez. I think I would. I'm very obsessed with the future, and I would want to. I would. Again, I've said it twice already, so third time's the charm. The Biff component. I would want to go into the future. I would have a goal, like I'm going to remember this information. I would sit in like a room for 24 hours. I would figure out how to memorize all the pieces of intel I need, whether that's sports scores, Super Bowl winners by point spreads, whether it's, something that I could use to my advantage
Sure.
to game the system a little bit. That's what I would do. Or maybe see my dead grandfather. I mean,
Okay, so let's, but like, let's say you, so that you're, again, forewarned is forearmed, right? Like that's that notion. So in your scenario, you've got knowledge of the future, right? You're blessed with future knowledge. You use that future knowledge to your advantage. What if that then changes the future?
am I rich?
Is that the only goal of time travel?
No, I wouldn't. I don't know.
Like you becoming rich leads to other butterfly effect things that now
It's true.
make things worse.
I would want to know that whatever I was doing would not change the timeline. I don't know how that works. I mean, I don't.
Yeah, if I knew that nothing would change for the worse, I'm changing my answer. I would probably go forward. I probably would.
Right.
And it would probably be to see like where my kids are, to make sure they're happy, all
Right.
that, right?
and
again,
if they're not,
that's
then
going to suck for me.
right?
Yeah, I know.
Then you'll know.
I know.
That's the fear I would have is
Yeah.
that you see that, oh shit, everything just spiraled out.
Or
of
that
control.
you're not alive.
Well, by the way,
I will be dead at some point.
not to get like dark here, but I'm convinced that my older brother, when he passed away, did something that made him pass away. And I would go back to that day and fucking yank him out of the kitchen and be like, don't do whatever you did. And
Oh,
again,
interesting.
And I don't even know what he did because we didn't do an autopsy.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to, say he was taking drugs or anything, but I mean, by the way, I don't think he was doing that. I think it was more like there was something shady about that whole situation. So if I'm being honest, like one of my top 3 answers would be to go back to that day and figure out what the hell happened and like prevent that, because he either had a massive heart attack or he took something that didn't sit well with his body, or someone the doctor who showed up thought he might have choked on something, which is like, so like it was just all sort of all over the place. So
He was how young was he?
he's 56.
Okay.
So, that would be a place I would go back just because no one knows exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And that's a weird thing to have, sort of, you know what I mean? So,
It makes me think. Excuse me. It makes me think about. I'll write this on a piece of paper sometime. You know that whole story about how Natalie Wood was on a boat?
Yeah.
yeah.
She was with Christopher Walken and with Robert Wagner, and nobody knows what happened on that boat.
Right outside of Catalina, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like she just shot a movie with Christopher Walken. The 3 of them went on a boat, and they say she slipped.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of things like that. I was reading something today about they think they found Amelia Earhart's plane
I saw that.
in like the ocean somewhere, and they're going to try to dig this thing up. Like there's so many of those moments of like what personal moments, but then also just like we've heard the unsolved stories from history. Like to have some of those answers, and like Ben will go back and watch the Templars burn. Right? It was the Templars who burned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's there's a story that exists within my family that the reason we lost our motel,
Was
right?
it Templars?
Not the Templars, but there was this whole sort of chain of events that happened and decisions that my father made that were maybe not the right decisions that came back and bit him in the butt. And there's always been this sort of feeling between my brothers and I of like, had someone had their eye on the ball, had he not been drinking as much as he was, and again, not to like take this down a rabbit hole, but it's just sort of that time sort of jump that could have been prevented. But the flip side of that is that doesn't happen. I don't move out here.
Right.
My brother's lives all sort of go in a
You
different
don't
direction.
have the life
Yeah.
you have right now.
Yeah. So it's like while there's like the temptation to go back and change all of that so that there's it's not sort of a 10-year sort of holy hell, what just happened? I don't think I would change any of that because it opened up so many other avenues, right? So
Yeah. Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, if I had to do a less, selfish time travel thing, if it had to be like a personal thing, then I'd probably go back to say goodbye to my mom or my dad before they pass. Like that just to sit, because like especially with my mom, like I was supposed to fly out the next day, and I thought she'd hold on for one more day and she didn't.
Yeah.
And that's something that's a little bit of a haunting regret, but like, yeah. Right. You always think about what are the things that I can gain from these kinds of experiences, and experiences you couldn't possibly have. But then when you put it in those personal terms, it kind of makes you realize like, maybe that's if time travel were a thing, the best part of it would be to it's the point of quantum leap for Christ's sake is to set right something that went wrong and to be able to not let those moments go by without addressing them.
Yep.
And now what the audience has realized is that this is actually just a commercial for Quantum Leap on NBC airing
Tuesday, January 30th at 10 p.m.
It all comes back around, doesn't it?
For the next 5 weeks.
Well, that's astral projection. So this is what we're going to do, right? We don't know how often. Are we going to do this once a month? Are we going to do this every 2 weeks? I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
We'll fill up that popcorn, not popcorn bowl with more topics that will take us God knows where. Perhaps Long Island at 2 a.m. with Ernest Borgnine.
He's waiting for us.
So thanks for being with us, right?
Yes.
This is Paul.
This is Ben.
This is Mitch.
And that's what we were talking about.